Thank you. All right, my name is Fred Luna, and I'm representing Goal 2 to expand opportunities for healthy and active living in our community. And first of all, I want to thank the whole group for the work that they did to get to this point. All the groups that were involved in the visioning plan, the starting document that we had to work with, and our role, I thought, was just to try to take that and what improvements could we make to that as a group, as it related to us, as we really started thinking about some of those action items and how to make improvements in our community. And I really appreciate all the photos that Ron just showed, because it really shows the resources in our community. When you appreciate it, just seeing a picture of it, sometimes you drive by and you just don't see it for what it is. These are our group members, so we had a fairly small group, but we did have some lively discussion on this particular goal. So introduction, what I really want to talk about today is the fact that we did meet on several occasions, and we went over all the objectives, and our charge was to prioritize those objectives and then specifically look at the action items and how we could improve those. And we decided of the 3 objectives that were identified under this goal is that 2 were priorities, the bike and ped connectivity in our community and increasing opportunities for recreation in our community. And then underneath each one of those, we did identify some new action items that would help make those, put those into effect. So like I said, these were the objectives that we were working with, and we prioritized objective 2.1 and objective 2.3 in that priority order. And then we did find merit with objective 2.2, but we chose not to give that a priority ranking. So under objective 2.1, increasing pedestrian and bike connectivity for our community, one of the most important reasons why we thought this was the top priority under this goal was the fact that it really cut across a wide demographic of our community. It appealed to parents with young children, recreational enthusiasts, business, and tourists. And so we thought that was very important. Some of the key things that we identified under the action items was that when providing pedestrian and bike connectivity, the trails should be developed consistent with the environment and also in cooperation with private property owners. Another action item that we identified that wasn't in the original document was perhaps looking into developing a community shuttle, and we provided some examples that I'll discuss later in the report. One of the most important things that's current work that's going on right now is the development of a bike and ped master plan that I know city staff is working on, and they're working towards a joint committee meeting of Parks and Rec and PC later this month. And we think that's an important thing to continue that work and take some of those recommendations in there and move them forward into the next step. That's an important document to make yourselves available for funding in the future through grant programs. So I think that's a priority to move forward with. We also thought that as the city looks at how they would develop the Zaca Creek Golf Course, it should consider trail access through or adjacent to that resource. Oh, another thing that we recently added was the fact that, and I know it's in the Bike and Ped Master Plan, is looking at ways to expand areas for local trips, that people would feel comfortable enough to make a local trip to the shopping center via bike or walking, add more bike racks and destination locations. I know this particular item resonates with quite a number of people that I've talked with, the ability to cross 246 in our community, and it really divides our community, and what we could do to improve that situation. That's why we identified this as a top priority, but we understand that the resource is owned by Caltrans, and so that made it more of a longer-term priority as we identified it, because it would require a lot more working with them over a longer period of time. But some of the things we thought that we could do was, as it's looked at, is we definitely want to look at ways to improve crossing for all modes, pedestrians, bikes, and then perhaps make some improvements along 246 for bicycles as well. We see today there's a bike event going on in our community, and that resource is used, and so anything that we can do to improve safety for all travel modes along that corridor is going to be great for our community. This particular, I threw up an excerpt for an article that was brought to my attention about something called a road diet, looking at when you're developing a highway and looking at, it doesn't necessarily extra large is better, and so what you can do with the bare minimum, and but you provide access for all modes of travel. This is just some information on our idea about a community shuttle. We took the idea after ones that are modeled in Santa Barbara and Carpinteria. It's a shuttle that's fueled by alternative fuels, so it's economically sustainable, and we saw that it would provide benefits to a multiple number of users. It could appeal to children on the weekends who might want to go to a gathering place, residents for local trips, visitors for special events. And we thought it was a safe way to connect our community. Right now, there's a lot of sense that our community is divided into 4 quadrants by Highway 101 and SR 246, Highway 246. So moving on, the next thing we looked at was how can we improve recreational opportunities in our community? And we thought one of the most important things is that maybe get an analysis or a look at what existing resources we do have in our community. The city and the school district have developed this facility and a lot of new resources recently. Maybe evaluating and asking the community what's important, what are the next steps we need to take as far as providing new opportunities, new recreational resources in our community. And then so that the city doesn't necessarily have to bear the full responsibility of that financial burden of developing those things, look at how the private sector might get involved or partner with the city on that. And this slide just talks about that in a little bit more detail, what I just mentioned. And so then the last one we looked at was Objective 2.2, healthy food choices. Though we didn't prioritize this, we had a lot of discussion on this, and we thought that in particular 2 of the action items were important in the sense that something that we should look forward and try to implement right away, and those were identifying areas that perhaps for community garden and in local areas. And I think we identified that in some possible locations in the document that we prepared. And then also continue work to bring a farmer's market back to Buellton as a local resource that people can frequent. And then, there was general support for some of the action items that were listed in there about, healthy food choices in the schools, and of course, but I think what the group indicated was the ability to influence change in that area may be limited. So as far as we could work with the school district, and make recommendations and support that. So this goes into a little bit more detail, working with the Chamber of Commerce to bring the farmers market to Buellton, and then the development of a community garden. These are some of the possible locations that we identified. The conclusion then on what we went through in discussing this particular goal was that we prioritize Objective 2.1 and Objective 2.3. Objective 2.1 being the increasing the bike and ped connectivity, and some of the main points that we wanted to just leave you with was completing the bike and ped master plan, and then focusing on safety along 246, and looking at the feasibility of a community shuttle, and that could be started as a pilot project. Objective 2.3, how do we increase recreational opportunities for our community? need to prioritize what the needs are of the community, what next steps do we need to take as far as resources that our community wants, and then look for ways to partner with the private sector in that. And then I mentioned the last objective under healthy food sources, continue to make progress towards bringing a farmer's market to Buellton, and then identifying locations for a community garden. So that's this goal. Thank you.